on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of Murder and Coffee, where I sit here with my amazing nerd mugs and true crime fanatic and pretty much just spiel off facts on people who you probably have never heard of or you have heard of. Who fucking knows at this point? My name's Danielle, and let's jump into the first episode here. We got Robert Browne. So, let's start off. It's a quiet night, September 17th, 1991. And 13-year-old Heather decided to stay home with her 5-year-old brother. Didn't want to go with her parents, her mom and her other brothers that night. She decided to stay home and spend time with her brother. Well, mom and her other brothers get home and she's nowhere in sight. They check the house, they check with neighbors. Still nothing. So, at that point, parents go ahead and call 911. Report her missing. Because it's completely out of character for this little girl. I say little because 13 is actually still a child. So, the Colorado Springs, technically El Paso County in Colorado, their sheriff's department goes ahead and they start conducting like a full-blown search of this girl's home. Seeing fingerprints, anything out of the ordinary. What they don't release to the press is they have 2 fingerprints that were lifted that do not match a single person that has been in and out of that home regularly. So, now let's fast forward a little bit, after fingerprints had already been forwarded to the FBI and Colorado Bureau of Investigations. It's now September 16th, 1993. Almost exactly 2 years to the day. And a hiker found a skull. Like a full-blown human skull off of Rampart Range Road, which is like a mountainous area outside of Colorado Springs. I actually had to look up a picture. It's really gorgeous. Don't blame the guy for hiking there. But after DNA and forensic dental records were done, turns out it was Heather Dawn Church, the 13-year-old girl who went missing almost 2 years to the day. So, now, you're wondering, well, why all of a sudden does this matter? Well, in 1995, Lou Smith was assigned as the captain of detectives for the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. He went ahead and he goes, well, why isn't anybody sending out these fucking fingerprints? Normal shit. Things that have been overlooked. Things that hadn't been sent. So, he makes copies of the fingerprints and goes ahead and sends them out to all 92 of the places of the automated fingerprint identification systems, the AFIS. In addition to fingerprint repositories for each individual state in the union. And finally, after a while of no response, detectives received notification that fingerprints recovered from inside the crime scene actually matched Robert Browne, a 42-year-old man who was a felon in the state of Louisiana for burglary and motor vehicle theft. So, this is the part where everything starts getting really, really fucked up. So, Robert Browne actually was sitting there playing head games with the fucking detectives. One detective, let's see here, in one of the readings it said he sent a letter on March 30th, 2000. So about 5 years after he had been arrested. so like his 5-year anniversary of being in the pen, decides to pen a letter just to kind of fuck with their heads. He indicated there were so many victims. They were in every state. But he wouldn't go into detail. Like, I'm going to read you, like, a little bit here. 7 sacred virgins entombed side by side. Those less worthy are scattered wide. And the letter just continued, and it started taunting investigators. The score is you 1, the other team 48. He just admitted to 48 fucking victims of his own. So, it's pretty insane there. And then he started taunting local investigators, saying if you were to drive to the end zone in a white Trans Am, the score could be 9 to 48. That would complete your home court sphere. And after that, he decided, I'm not sharing anything anymore. So, we're going to kind of go back a bit in time. You know, before everything started getting really, really fucked up for Browne. So, Browne was actually born on Halloween 1952 in Coshada, Louisiana. If I pronounce that wrong, please someone fucking tell me, because I don't know. I'm educated, but only to a point. Normal family, youngest of 9. Both parents in the home. Mother was a homemaker. Father worked on farms. Fast forward to New Year's Eve, 1961. His fucking grandfather throws himself down a well to commit suicide. No other details than that. I'm not sure if he was there for it or if it was just traumatizing. Or maybe they didn't have that close of a relationship. Most family dynamics, yeah, it's out of the question. Fast forward a couple more years. His aunt was brutally murdered. Sorry, getting over a cold. There's no facts or details or anything like that that I'm able to find. And I got almost all the case files that I could find online. Most of them you can find on Murderpedia. Best website ever. I'm in love with it. But there's no details as to whether or not he was there or he was close or anything like that. So, we really don't know. During school, he was described as having a hot temper, but he was really smart. He wasn't really abused, I guess you could say. Not sexually, physically, maybe emotionally. We're going to get to that here in a minute. But his mother had fits of rage and was emotionally unstable. So I guess there could have been some emotional and mental abuse just due to her part. Maybe her fits of rage were taken out on him. Who really knows? Now, emotionally and mentally, here's where it comes into play. His childhood was a succession of horrors and humiliation by his older siblings, and his mother condoned it. Sorry. Where I grew up, if we were to pick on our younger siblings, it was called being a kid. Now, was there such a thing as taking it too far? Yeah, definitely. You could take it too far. But I would always get my ass whooped. Just saying, if I were to do that. So, around then, he was known to beat up some animals, start the occasional fire. Other than that, he had no record. Dropped out of high school at age 16. A year later, he started to serve in the Army. and enlisted. He served in the Army from 1969 to 76. And that's when he attained the rank of E6. Now, during his time in the military, his father died in 1974. So, he was dishonorably discharged for drug use in 1976. That could just be, maybe he had tried it recreationally, wasn't really an addict. Everything that I have seen in the past 2 weeks about this guy, he was not an addict. And did he drink? Yes. But he wasn't a drunk. He didn't have, it's like he had a switch he could flip instead of being an alcoholic or an addict or anything like that. There was a switch. He would do it and then he'd quit. So, work history-wise, worked for the paper company in Mansfield, Louisiana, 1981 to 83. Worked for J&H Wholesale in Sibley, Louisiana, from 84 to 85. Worked at Quick Stop in Colorado Springs, 87 to 88. Now, this is where things start to come into play. Because his jobs, he didn't really travel around for work. But yet, his victim count is claimed to be high. Like in almost the 50s. But we're going to get to that in a second. He's had 6 marriages. First one, in 1970, he married 13-year-old Terry Laverne Ward of Louisiana. Couple years go by, they're divorced. He marries a Vietnamese woman named, I'm gonna butcher it, but they have a son together, and that child is being raised by Robert's sister. They divorce. In 76, he lived with a 24-year-old woman in Colorado Springs. In 77, marries a 17-year-old Louisiana girl. 80, marries a 25-year-old Louisiana woman. 88, marries 38-year-old woman in Colorado Springs. It is important to note, though, that all but 2 relationships end up in divorce due to physical abuse. One claim was thrown into the hospital and just to the point where she was done. Left him instantly. Next day. Same thing with the other woman. He drove her out. And this is the mother of his child. He drove her out of town. Went to a little makeout point. Just really fucked her up right there. Like, could have thrown her over the cliff. So, he kind of just a violent way about him. He was just pure blown violent. No ifs, ands, or buts. So, some say he is a thrill killer. I think it was more of a, I want to say thrill or a spree or anything like that. I think he's more of a conveniency. The time comes, he just does it. Doesn't plan it out, just picks the victim and boom. His methods of murder, manual and ligature for strangulation, chloroform and ether for chemical, and his weapons, a handgun, a .22, .38, .357, and a .44. Knife, screwdriver, and an ice pick. I mean, now in 2019, you don't think, oh, I'm gonna go and kidnap someone and stab them with a fucking ice pick. But in the 70s and 80s, it was rough. They didn't have the same deal we have now. Ways he would dispose of the body, lakes, rivers, ditches, trash receptacles, ditches again, or over cliffs. Cliffs are important, just so you know. So, he claims 48 victims. 1 in Washington, 2 in California, 2 in Arizona, 7 in Texas, 9 in Colorado. And, like, the map is insane, people. Like, literally. It is super crazy. 41 of those are uncorroborated claims. They cannot find records at that point because nothing was digitalized. They couldn't just email and say, hey, you got this file? We're looking for this person. Hey, you got a missing person for this? There was nothing. So, where everything was out of jurisdictions, they had to use proper methods, like calling on an actual, like, phone. They didn't have cell phones. Well, they did, but they didn't. They had to mail, like, overnight letters to other jurisdictions to get their assistance in this, to corroborate everything. But most of them, they don't keep records for as long as they should. So, 41 of the claims uncorroborated. 7 were corroborated. The first one in Colorado, 2 separate ones in Texas, 3 in Louisiana, and 1 in Arkansas. So, let's fast forward here. Hess decides, let's a little bit about Hess. Alright. So, let's see here. Best way to describe him. In May of 2002, a volunteer investigator for El Paso County Sheriff's Office, Charlie Hess, wrote to Browne in an attempt to reestablish communications, to earn his trust, essentially, to get him to talk. He wasn't pushy. He used his many, many years of just, I guess, investigation, and he didn't intimidate him. He let Browne go ahead and lead, is the best way to put it. Through the writings, he eventually learned Browne's motivation, what his motive was for all of it. Browne had concerns over some medical conditions. So, the conditions of his incarceration, he pretty much suggested the possibility of working with an author and selling his story, Son of Sam style. Well, after that fiasco with Son of Sam, there's no way for him to do the book deal and actually make money off of it because A, it's against the law now. He's no longer allowed profits. Most serial killers, they can give interviews for books to the police, all this stuff for, like, educational purposes, but they're not allowed to make a dime off of it. So, who really knows? So he was hoping and suggesting to be able to do this anonymously as to where he would be able to make the money without them knowing he was making the money. So he was pretty much holding out on them, like hardcore. So, few years go by, and they're talking and just getting along greatly, is the best way to put it. Like, they were talking as if they were friends. If you have never seen the show Dark Minds, go check it out. It was an investigation and discovery show. You can find it on YouTube. It is amazing. Michael Phelps is an amazing author and investigator, and the way he handles his collaborations with and contact with a serial killer inside of a penitentiary, phenomenal. He does not let him lead the conversation. He just takes charge right away. This guy knows what he is doing. So, kind of like Hess here. He knows what he's doing. So, in 2002, Browne wrote to Hess, and he was speaking about a white Pontiac Grand Am. Earlier, he said it was a Trans Am being involved in a Colorado Springs case in either 87 or 88. So, sitting there thinking about it, let's go to 88 here. Let's see. 88. I have loads of paper on this case. So, 88. He's talking about 15-year-old Rocio Sperry. She was reported missing November 15th of 87. Her remains have never been located. She was reported missing. They don't know how she died. They don't know, how she died. And pretty much, she was dismembered and thrown into a dumpster. This guy's fucked up. A number of his victims seem to be children. That's all I gotta say. So, let's go back here to this one. On March 8th, 2003, Browne offered some information on a woman whom he intimidated. He pretty much just killed this woman in Platonia, Texas. Platonia. Sorry if you're from there. I'm from Utah. I live in Idaho. Sucks. Sorry. In between 84 and 85. So he suggests that a small town such as Platonia would more than likely remember the incident as opposed to a metropolitan area which is larger. Her husband was actually charged in the case. That was another one that was corroborated. And it just goes on and on and on. He just taunts them with details. And then he goes on to say they got the way that the lady in Platonia was killed wrong. It was actually an ether and ice pick. That's how she was killed. Well, throughout the communications with him, Hess kept probing without being pushy, trying to figure out how. He was building a great rapport, pretty much. Over a year or so of communicating with him, there's a huge rapport here, and you can just tell because Browne is actually discussing things that he never wanted to discuss before. And he wanted to keep it in the dark and only use it to sell books. That was it. A man who dropped out of high school, everybody. Not too shabby. Gotta give him props for that. He's not dumb. He's dumb, but he ain't that dumb. Alright, so, here we go. Let's get into the victims. As of right now. Alright, so we got Lisa Lowe, 21 years old, reported missing November 3rd, 1991. Discovered November 26th, 1991. 23 days. Arkansas State Police are the ones that investigated this. Manner and cause of death were undetermined. She was found in the St. Francis River. That's where he disposed of her. Heather Church. Reported 13. Reported missing September 17th, 1991. Discovered September 16th, 1993. El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Manner of death was a homicide. Cause of death was undetermined. Her body found in a mountainous area. Catherine Hayes, 15. Reported missing July 4th, 1980. Discovered October 16th, 1980. Louisiana State Police are the ones that were investigating. Manner of death, unknown. Cause of death, unknown. Placed in a creek. Wanda Faye Hudson, 21. Discovered May 28th, 1983. Louisiana State Police discovered her. Manner of death, homicide. Cause of death, multiple stab wounds. Body disposal, there wasn't any. She was found in her fucking apartment. Like, how do you go from, like, killing someone and getting blood on your hands to, and leaving them to disposing of them? You didn't get caught on 2 of them, and then you just start disposing of them. Anyways. Faye Self, 26 years old, reported missing March 30th, 1983. Discovered. Victims' remains were never located. Louisiana State Police were the ones investigating. Manner and cause of death are unknown. She was placed in Red River. Melody Bush, 22 years old. Discovered March 30th, 1984. Fayette County Sheriff are the ones that were investigating. Manner of death was considered a homicide. Cause of death, acute acetone poisoning. Body disposal, placed in a drainage ditch. See, there's no pattern here. He's just picking random women. He says to have been a watcher, I do believe. In other words, he was looking for cheating women. The majority of these women, I highly doubt, were attempting to cheat, especially with the way he was talking about them. Nydia Mendoza, 17, reported missing February 2nd, 1984. Found February 6th, 1984. Sugarland PD was the ones investigating. Manner of death, homicide. Cause of death, strangulation. Dismembered and placed in a ditch. I swear. Nothing about human life on this dude. I swear to God. It drove me crazy. I think this is bad. I actually discussed it with a coworker at work. She's not too thrilled about this episode. So, as we go on and on throughout these interviews he has with them, all of his claims have been corroborated. All of them. Let's see here. They were never planned. These crimes, never planned. They were simply crimes of opportunity. The situation presented itself, and it was done. Spontaneous. A direct quote from him. He was sitting there saying all kinds of stuff, like he did, however, frequently speak of his negative feelings towards women. It would just be triggered by his disgust at the lack of morality. Women try to present themselves to be one thing and then always prove to be something else. Low, unfaithful, screw around on their husbands, sheets, users, not of the highest moral character. One of his victims, he called her a slutty, low-life woman who wants stuff up. So, I'm pretty sure we are now getting to that point where he's pretty much a D-bag. You know, the kind that flew under the radar for so fucking long. He goes on to say how he would just meet him at local bars. So, they started to use tactics that were used in the Green River Killer case. They met with Washington Sheriff's Office from King County, and they decided to bring in the behavioral science unit, pretty much, to try and get more out of him. Because at this point, it seems like he's pretty much just fucking braggy. Like, I'm going to give you this, but you're never going to get me on it. And almost all of his victims, minus the teenage ones, were all met at bars, nightclubs, just walking down a road, a car broken down, just anything really. Here, grab my other stack of papers here, because let's see here. What was it he called his victim? All right. Claimed event. So, first murder an American GI in South Korea. 77 through 79 kills South Philly prostitute in New Orleans Holiday Inn. Late 70s, kills Cajun lady in Morgan City, Louisiana. Kills 2 males and sets their trailer on fire. 1980. 1980 also killed 2 people on I-70 west of Denver. Lady laid to rest in marshy area near West Memphis, Arkansas, 1980. 1985, dumped male in the muck near Tulsa, Oklahoma. 1986, throws lady over the precipice in Washington State. 1986, kills a couple on the beach in California. 90 through 94, kills cowboy lady in Colorado Springs. 93, shot a motorcyclist in New Mexico. It's insane. Like, his list of everything is just insane. Like, I could go on about this guy forever, but he honestly isn't even worth our breath. Let's see here. What was his sentence? Let's see here. 2006. He pled guilty, sentenced to a concurrent life without possibility of parole for 40 years. September 22nd, 2006. Returns to solitary confinement in Colorado Territorial Correctional Facility. He ain't getting out. He done fucked himself. And you know what? I'm okay with that. So, if y'all have any cases you want me to go ahead and do, just put them down in the comments below. I have an email. I'll put that on here as well. And I will try to be back Friday with another case. Thank you, and enjoy your coffee, my friends. And like I said, let me know what you think. And that was a fucked up story of Robert Browne. Who knows what's next? At this point, anything's possible with the lack of sleep I have regularly. See ya.